All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's program. This program is Building Your Brand. We're going to learn how to successfully identify and grow your brand. So first and foremost, I am Caitlin, and I'm a librarian at Harrington, and I'm joined by
Matthew, an LSR at the Harrington Library as well.
And we are so glad that you could join us this afternoon for this class. So just some general housekeeping rules at the start. Your mics have been muted on purpose. Any inappropriate conduct or typing messages in the chat will result in you being removed from the class. But if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to use the chat or the Q&A button to type your messages at any time during this program, and we will have a Q&A session at the end in case you want to wait to gather your thoughts to ask questions in this class. All right, so let's get started. First and foremost, what is your brand? So a brand is a product, service, or concept that is publicly distinguished from other products, services, or concepts so that it can be easily communicated and usually marketed. Branding like this can be applied to the entire corporate identity or as well as an individual product and service name. So it's very important that you understand what it is you're trying to sell and where you are in your branding journey. So from that, you need to understand, is your brand already established? Have you been in business for years? Are you looking to reinvent your brand? So depending on where you are in that journey, if you're starting from nothing, it's kind of like the world is your oyster. You can really gather the research and set goals to help you establish what kind of messaging you really want. Secondly, we want to first identify what is your product. So your product very much influences your brand. It influences your business identity. And it's important to first acknowledge, what are you trying to sell? Because your product, as long as you believe in it, as long as you have a clear notion of what it is you're trying to sell, you can build everything around that. But you do not want to forget to acknowledge who is selling it. So whether that's yourself, whether that's your company, an entity that you're trying to build, you want to acknowledge that today, in today's marketplace, it is just as important to know who is selling the product as what you are selling. People will definitely invest in people that they believe in or that they feel like has a worthwhile message. And thirdly, you want to think about, what problem are you solving with your product, with your story? What is going to really connect with people and how you are branding yourself and your product? This could include things such as having a sustainable endeavor. Sustainability is huge in today's marketplace, especially in building a better future for tomorrow, or being renewable, or solving a problem in a sustainable way. But also with the individual behind it, you want to think about, okay, what is their story? What is your story? What is your mission? And will it resonate with someone else? In today's social media and communication realm, there's going to be something that connects with everyone. But all you have to do is be willing to share and communicate that effectively.
Which actually leads us into our next portion of recognizing your brand, which is making your promotional material. Once you've figured out, who is selling it, what is the problem you're solving, the message that you're trying to get out there, you need to find a way to actually get the message out there. And there's a lot of ways you can go about this. There is print versus digital. When you're doing print media is very important. It cannot be underestimated how great a printed product is. Most people love having a physical object in their hand, whether or not it is a business card, a book, brochure, pamphlet. All these things are physical items that patrons, potential clients, customers want to take home with them. Digital, however, is also very important to have a mindset for, because everything nowadays is moving towards digital. We have plenty of different varieties of social media and ways in which you want to reach your customers. We'll get a bit more in depth on social media later, but things to think about for whenever you're making your printed promotional material is you want to make sure that there is a style guide that goes along with everything. You want to make sure that the color schemes are fitting to your brand and to your product. You would want to use colors that are, warm, cool, all those things to think about. You want to make sure a font scheme is going and consistent throughout each product that you're showing. Font is something that can, really showcase what your product is trying to be. Like if you are a more modern product, you would want something that is a sans serif font, or if you're something a bit more classical, something a bit more fantastical, a serif font or an old school typewriter font might be the one for you. Lastly, and what we're going to dive into a little bit more in depth is logos and graphics. Logos and graphics are something that are very important in making your brand recognizable. And we're going to start with the ever-present Starbucks logo. We are also going to post a link in the chat that talks a bit about the Starbucks journey and how they went through their many different variations of the logo and how we've gotten to this modern look for today. Now, one thing to take a note about of the Starbucks logo is it's very circular. A lot of the points and edges are actually very soft and curved. The only thing really being very sharp is the star up at the top. One of the things that's important when you're making a character, especially a mascot character, is you want to make them soft, inviting, especially if you're a brand that is all about being welcoming and inviting. Usually hard lines, hard shapes, we usually associate that with very sharp, dangerous things. So by making the character smooth, we have decided that we are now making a character that is safe. Which also has gone from a variety of different designs in the sense that the original Starbucks logo was, more abstract, bizarre, let's say. It's, more fantastical creature that is very bizarre to look at. And now here we have actually zoomed in on our character to show you the open arms and then very inviting look to it.
There was also a shift in the original logo from the color brown to the present day green.
Yes, the reason they went to the present day green color is because green, especially this earthy green, is a much more cool, calm, and inviting color. Whenever you use colors in your logos, you want to make sure that you're choosing the colors that set off an emotion in the person who is viewing them. Cool colors being the calming type, warm colors being the aggressive and making you want to go move and do something. So for Starbucks, they have chosen to do a calming, cooling color to represent that they're an inviting place where you can be relaxed and enjoy coffee and companionship. Next on the agenda is FedEx. This is actually any graphic designer's favorite logo, especially people who work in fonts. Federal Express basically made the logo using negative space between the E and the X. If you look in the negative space there, you'll notice an arrow, and the arrow is also pointing from left to right. In the English language, we read left to right. So when you see an arrow moving to the left, from left to right, your brain automatically assumes that not only is it going fast, but it's going in the right direction. It is also being surrounded by an orangey red color, which is, again, we were talking earlier about how warm colors invite action and movement. This is something that also invites action and movement. By also having a break between Fed and X, it helps you as the reader understand that you're supposed to read it as FedEx as opposed to FedEx or anything of that nature. It's also something that was eventually taken by Amazon, who now uses a smiley face and a dimple to symbolize the arrow that is going away from us and going off and being shipped off. So
as well as just a happy smiley face.
As well as a happy smiley face. So regardless of everything, it basically is good marketing to kind of showcase that it's going forward. Lastly, we're going to be talking a little bit about a more local company to the Frisco area. It is Gearbox Software. They are a company that specializes in making video games, digital movies, and other products such as the like. Their logo is pretty simple. You just see a gear inside a box. But what makes it stand out and makes it a bit more interesting is in the bottom corner, you have another cog that is attached to the other gear to basically make the mind associate that this gear could be moving and that it's constantly moving and it's something that will always be able to keep working. They also chose just black and white for this particular logo because it is a color scheme that is very action oriented. It is not something, that is superfluous. It is very much cut and dry. You're going to get exactly what you want and it'll go, quickly. Most video game companies tend to choose color schemes, black, white, and a bit of red because they're action colors. So as you can see here, they've chosen an action color to keep it very simple, but at the same time, show off what they are.
So all of these examples really help you understand what you need in your visual style guide. You need to have those consistent elements to help your brand be recognizable and stand out. Whether it's something like a Starbucks logo where you have a character representing your brand, or you have something as simplistic as a text graphic that really just states, here's the name of the brand, it's the logo, that it's something that can attach itself moving forward, and it's what everyone thinks of first in their mind when they think of your brand. The font choices and all of your branding is very important, as well as the color scheme. And it's important to think about your choices in that initial brand in case you decide to change your mind later on. An example of that we don't have included in today's presentation is the A&W Root Beer brand. Their logo changed dramatically over the course of their history, but they kept similar color schemes. So even if you are actually reinventing your brand, if you want to pay homage in one way or the other, like Starbucks, and you keep your same character, but change the colors, those are things you want to think about to achieve the message for your brand that you're looking for. Are there any questions at this time? We're not seeing any, so we'll keep on going. But do feel free to type those messages in the chat. We are always happy to answer questions.
Yes. So after all of this is said and done, once you've kind of gotten an idea of how you want to build yourself with the logo, figure out who and what it is you're trying to sell, it's important to also figure out how to build a base. When I say building a base, it's basically talking about who is the audience and who is not the audience. When working and making towards, smart goals, things of that nature to help build your brand and help expand it, you want to be able to efficiently move and efficiently grab hold of customers and potential customers. You're not going to want to waste time on an audience that is just not going to be interested in your product. There is way more time and effort needed to be put into people who would be more likely to buy your product as opposed to people who would just not be interested at all. You're not going to convince everybody, and you need to make sure that you're aware of when it's time to back off and go towards people who are more inclined to buy your product. Which, after we figure that out, it's time also to figure out how we're going to reach them.
So we have over here on the right, so after you really establish who your audience is, because how you market your product for a video game is going to be entirely different from how you market it for clothing or any kind of craft product. Establishing who is your audience and establishing who is not your audience will directly affect how you use this graphic over here on the right, which is one of my favorite acronyms. It's tofu, mofu, bofu. which is the sales funnel method. So how does this impact your branding? Tofu, Mofu, Bofu, the sales funnel method, is a journey a potential customer takes from first contact to becoming a customer. So with Tofu, you have your top of funnel. And really how this affects your branding, how this affects your really building a base for your product and what you're trying to accomplish with your business endeavor is by taking your customer from a journey of just informing them of who you are to actually making them someone who returns at the end. So going through this phase, we have first our top of funnel awareness stage, which is where you have at the start your widest audience. It is really an educational method. It's where you have your most general and least ready to convert audience, but how you create your material, your branding material to reach that audience is incredibly important, because what you're doing is you're building an awareness about yourself, your company, your product, and trying to highlight the problem that you address. So as we mentioned earlier in this class, you want to establish at the very start of the development of your brand, what are you trying to achieve? What problem are you solving? What is important about yourself and your product that your audience can connect to? Because when you're at this stage of building your brand, you want to use those answers to really connect with your target audience. And you want to think about who could connect with this and who will not. Because how you create any kind of promotional material, whether that's an image, a teaser video, anything that you would post to any kind of forum, it needs to be educational. It needs to be some kind of explainer animation, or just, again, reiterating that problem and solution. Once you kind of build a base from that first top of the funnel method, you're kind of moving into the middle phase, and you can find yourself at any points of this funnel at any time. But the middle of the funnel is where you're really teaching people how to choose a solution. This is what's called the consideration stage, because you have a targeted audience. You have an idea of who your buyer might be, and you may already be in motion to really connecting them with that next stage, which is the decision stage of our funnel method. But in terms of your brand and building that awareness, this is where you're really narrowing the focus. You're taking your mission statement of your brand, you're taking that message, and you're saying, you are the person I am definitely wanting to connect with, because my product will really resonate with you or really help your life be better. And really establishing that can be done with a product overview. It can be done with a tutorial method. So any type of tutorial session that you see on YouTube, when you Google, how do I do this? And someone's giving a demonstration of how to use a product, that's an example of that middle of funnel method. And whether it's intentional on your part or not, whether it's someone who's purchased your product and is doing it on your behalf because they were like, you need to solve this, and this is how you can do it with this product. That's really an example of how any kind of social media or any kind of news or marketing is not bad. Anything you can do at this stage to really spread the word and continue that awareness from that top of the funnel stage is only going to help you, because building a base is all about communication and all about how you're using tools to develop that communication. So now we're getting to the bottom of funnel, and this is where we get to that decision stage. And even though here it says a narrow audience, where you're really kind of having to explain why your product is the best solution, and you're trying to get to the point where people are ready to buy it. This does not mean that your audience has become so narrow that you're going to lose people after this. It just means that you've taken and communicated everything from the top of the funnel to get people on that journey, that journey to where a potential customer really becomes your customer. But the big part of this is that you want to make sure it connects to after purchase, where they start forming a relationship with your brand and they go back to the top and just flow right back through. So this is really a circular method, but it's more easier to understand and follow through with this sort of image of a funnel. So when in doubt, remember tofu, mofu, bofu. Very fun. I hope that makes you laugh. It made me laugh, and it's something I will never forget, because again, you want to make sure top of the funnel, you're spreading a very wide base, but still keeping in mind that you know who your audience is and you're using dynamic imaging, graphics, videos to really connect with your audience. And then taking them to that next stage again, where you're narrowing it down a little bit more, you're posting more information that really explains why your product is the best. And again, to the bottom of the funnel, where it's like, yes, they're buying in, this is where I want them. And after, you still make that connection to have them come back. So that's really, really, really important with your building a brand, because this tells you what you're doing right, and it can show you very easily what you're doing wrong. So I hope that helps you. Are there any questions about the tofu, mofu, bofu method, or what may or may not fall into each stage? Or if you just want to share if you liked the acronym. I'm not seeing any questions, so we're going to go ahead and move on
To social media. We had talked a little bit earlier about digital marketing being the way of the future and how everything is kind of moving towards. Social media can also be used for a lot of different things, and it's important to kind of recognize what social medias work best with your brand, with your company, because not every social media outlet that is out there is right for you, and you don't want to spread yourself too thin. Again, we talked a bit about being efficient with our resources and our time, and going into every single social media outlet you can find is just not going to be good for you. There are plenty of different ways to communicate with your audience via social media. Twitter is a good one for communication, where you have these short burst statements, sentences, where you can talk with your clients and customers. A lot of Twitter accounts usually use them for more lighthearted brevity and things of that nature. Facebook is usually a bit more towards events and being able to let you know what's happening with the company, where they're going to be at in that regards. Instagram is good for image posting. Again, it's also nice because they have this new feature called Stories, which is very much like a Snapchat thing, where you can showcase if your company is at an event, you can start posting, quick stories saying you're here, can't wait to see everybody, want to talk to them, and the like. There are other platforms out there. Those are the few that I know of that I think are very helpful in getting your brand out there. However, it is important to understand the etiquette that goes into social media. We talked about Twitter. Twitter is also a very hot button place for where a lot of scandal tends to happen, where a Twitter account from a large corporation says something that is, mildly offensive, horribly offensive, and it causes a big stir. Now, we do know that there is no such thing as bad press, because again, it at least gets your name out there, but it is still important to be aware of how you might alienate some of your customers by saying this. And we want to make sure we are bringing in as many customers as possible. An example I can think of a Twitter snafu was Burger King had a tweet that said women belong in the kitchen on International Women's Day, and then actually did a follow-up tweet saying if it was their own choice, but the damage had already been done because of the fact that they didn't put that into one whole tweet. It is also great for highlighting your products as well as talking about where you're going to be. I would personally say that my preferred method of social media would be Instagram and Twitter, just because there's a lot more different things you can do on those platforms. However, with Instagram, there is some issues. If you want to be able to post links to your store, posting links in your stories, posting links in your posts, you need to have 10,000 followers just to be able to do that. And doing that right off the bat is just unfeasible, and it is not conducive to your time. You would probably be better off just posting links to social media such as Twitter, Facebook, and the like.
Or simply posting links in your bio, or including it in comments section. So there's a way to make everything work for what you're trying to do. It definitely depends on what your business goal is, what you're trying to sell, what kind of genre of business you're falling into, because the kind of social media usage that you would use for something like online art, or selling clothing, or selling crafts on Etsy, or any kind of digital material is going to be a different kind of usage and relationship with social media than a fast food restaurant or a large corporation that has an entire marketing team developed to this. So you need to understand how big your business is. Who is the brand? Is it just you? Is it you and your relationship with a partner and what you're trying to start? Is it the relationship that you have with your audience? You need to think about how that all is going to affect your communication with your audience and how you're going to use it effectively to highlight your products, as well as use it as that informational tool. Social media can include things, as mentioned, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. It can include other things like streaming products like Twitch, or even go into forums like Reddit or any kind of other social media tool. There's so many out there that you really shouldn't limit yourself to just what is well known, but we do highly encourage that in the development of your brand, that you take the time to explore everything out there to really find what's going to work best for you. Another one I know Matthew has experience with has been Patreon, has been developing things on Instagram, and as mentioned. So what we're sharing comes from what we've seen used and resources that we have in the library or have used personally. But definitely explore everything, because there's new social media tools developed every day and you never know what's going to be the newest thing.
Yes, and for streaming services as well, YouTube is another source to think about whenever it comes to streaming, not just Twitch. There are actually beginning to be multiple new platforms coming out. As we said, there's so many different ways to get your word out there that you should definitely take time, go through every single one, figure out, the ins, outs, all the different algorithms that have to go into making the social media so you can be seen the most. One of the things that's very important to realize when you do posts to social media is using hashtags, as well as formatting to make sure that the text that will appear in search functions, because you want people to be consistently being able to find you via search methods and the like. Hashtags are a great way to do so.
Looking into SEO mechanics or data analytics, those are all free things you can actually use just through Google. You can look up Google Trends and see what's trending in terms of verbiage. So there's so much out there that can really help you highlight what you're trying to share about your brand, whether you're personally trying to develop a following as a streamer, which in that case, I would say you yourself are your brand. Developing what that looks like and what will resonate with people is huge on how you're going to communicate. Whether you're someone who's crafting and are trying to sell your handmade goods on Etsy, it also means that you might want to use something more like Instagram. If you're an artist, well, Matthew,
Instagram, yeah. Instagram is good. The only thing I would say, again, the big issue is Instagram is very hard because you cannot post links. You can't post them in the comments. You cannot, the only place you can have links is in your bio, and you can only have one link at a time. So usually people, what they'll do is they'll get what's called a link tree, which is a link to a website that has a bunch of links that you posted there. Well, the real goal for artists and people who are, trying to promote their brands is to try to make those clicks become financial gain. You want them to become sales. You want them to become people who will go to a Patreon, to a paid service for your work. And social media is a great tool for that, but it is important to also know that the social media is more there for people to recognize you and come see you in person.
if you have any questions about social media usage or what may or may not work well for yourself, do know that we do encourage you to post in the chat. We're very friendly and we are welcome to share what we've learned from our research. But if you want to wait till the end, that's also fine. We'll keep this moving. Our next topic that we have on our developing a brand is developing SMART goals. It's very important that wherever you are on the spectrum of developing your brand, whether again, it's starting with nothing or just reinventing what you already have, you need to have SMART goals in place to help you remain accountable. So what these are, what these look like are specific goals. You need to be able to state specifically what you want to do. And these generally include things like action words, things that are actionable and actually are something that you want to accomplish. Next, you want to make sure that they're measurable. You want to find a way to evaluate what you're trying to do using metrics or data targets. Next in your SMART goals is that A, to make sure that, again, they are achievable. You want to make sure that they are within your scope of your brand, your product goal, your business. If they are not achievable, why are you working to make it happen? You want to use your resources wisely and make sure that, again, this links to our R, that they're relevant, because if they don't make sense within your job function, you're going to lose energy, lose steam, and waste resources that could be going to something that's far more relevant and really improves your business in some way. Which leads us to that T and SMART, which is time bound. You want to have a goal for when you're going to get this done, and you want to try and be as specific on the date or time frame as possible. This all comes together because if you are putting together a goal that is specific, so such as social media, building more of a brand awareness to your audience, you can be very specific with that. You can highlight your goal for getting a certain amount of followers on a social media. That is measurable and it is achievable with the right kinds of marketing. And that is highly relevant to your brand because it is something that is going to build that brand awareness. It's going to help you target your audience, and it can be time bound. However, within this SMART goals, it's important to note that if something doesn't happen by the time that you had outlined, don't take that as a failure. It's important to look at everything realistically, but also that measurable part. If something took you longer to achieve, that's all part of the same goal, even if it takes you longer than originally intended, because you can use that information to improve for the next round. Now, with a goal for social media presence, it does take some moving parts within that, because you have your promotional video to create. It has the usage of that style guide that we mentioned earlier, or building a consistent brand reputation. So all of those finer details of whatever goal you're having, just note maybe there's a goal within that goal, which could take you down a rabbit hole. So make sure that you don't have scope creep where you're losing sight of what your original goal is. But start with something small and build from there. If you don't have a logo, maybe focus on working on building that logo. If you haven't defined what your message is to your audience, set a goal for when you're going to fully develop that and have it posted to your website or blog or on a brochure for any kind of marketing material that you're going to put out. But using this format, using this SMART method can really help you stay on task, can really help you connect with everyone that you're trying to connect with, and do it in a way that you're not misusing resources, you're not wasting your time, and you're doing things that matter and that you can look back on, see the data, and actually improve upon. Are there any questions about SMART goals or what this could look like? That's okay.
We just have a very savvy audience.
We do.
But speaking of resources, the library has a lot of different resources that are available to you with just your library card. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we have here that you can use and help make you grow your brand.
So again, developing your brand can take a long time. It's really important that you know that you should almost constantly be looking and evaluating what your brand is and who you're reaching. So tools such as reference solutions can really help you look at what your competitors are doing, or if you're interested in starting a product in a certain field, you can research what other people are doing, what people are doing right, or what's not working for them based on the data that's available in reference solutions. So this is available on our library webpage, and you can use it in the library or at home with your library card.
Yes, and speaking of being able to use your library card, LinkedIn Learning is the same way. If you want to go to our Research and Learn page on the Plano Library website, there is the section for LinkedIn Learning, which is our new version of lynda.com, which had multiple classes and content that you could take to get certified and learn new soft skills, new tech skills and the like. It is now under LinkedIn Learning. It just needs the same thing, library card number, as well as the PIN that you usually use to log on to with. And there's a plethora of classes with which you can learn all about digital marketing, all about what it is that can make your brand stand out.
And they actually translate to certifiable skills, because you do get that certificate at the end of a learning path if you choose to go on one of those paths, which leads us to our library YouTube channel. So we love creating new material for you. And just like this class, everything that we're putting out here is being recorded and is available at a later date. So if you think about any question you have or can't remember something we said in a class, our library YouTube channel is a great resource for you to check out and review any previous classes. On there, we do have our previous Grow Your Business with Adobe CC series, which did include classes such as creating a business card or flyer or other print and digital media. So we had also on there a product photography class. So all these things to really help you look at what you may need or want to explore with building your brand. So I do see a question in the chat, which is, where did you say the main page for all of this is? So you can actually access this through our library website. So I'm going to actually go ahead and exit out of our PowerPoint to show you how to access this. So we're just going to open a new window. So if you go to, whoops, it's not showing. Give me 1 second. So if you go to planolibrary.org, that is going to redirect you to our main website. And once it loads, you can access all of those resources, and we have a bunch. So if you find that one of the resources we mentioned today really isn't working for you, feel free to check out our other resources to see what may work. So if you scroll down, there's 2 links that should get you where you are wanting to go, which is Learn or Research and Learn. I'm going to go ahead and click Research and Learn, because this takes us to all of our databases. So as mentioned, I'm just going to go ahead and click all databases rather than narrow it down. Though business and career is an option, and that's where everything should be. But if you're curious about what each of these are or how it could be relevant to you, do feel free to just scroll through everything that we have. We have Business Source Complete with EBSCO, which includes financial data, industry market reports, business videos, SWOT analysis. It's really great stuff. But what we were specifically mentioning is LinkedIn Learning, which, as Matthew mentioned, provides online training courses. It's a great way to learn new skills, and it's something that staff here at Plano Public Library use as well. And there's Reference Solutions, which again, it helps provide information to help you start a business or conduct market research. Accessing that, this is what that page looks like. And if you access it through the Plano Public Library page, you should see this logo pop up over here. And this US businesses can really help you research kind of what's already gone on in the marketplace for whatever product you're trying to develop. Going back, just to show you again what things are looking like. And please do continue to post any questions you have in the chat. We are more than happy to answer any questions. That LinkedIn Learning is right there. So getting started. And this is where you would log in with your library card information. And our YouTube channel, which I'm just going to go ahead and access that here. If you just Google Plano Library YouTube, it should pop up, and there's our channel. And you can access all previous recordings right there. And as you can see, there's our current class, which if you're not able to log into Zoom in the future for any reason, you can also watch our programs live from the YouTube channel. So we really hope that this has been beneficial to you today. We do want to give you a few minutes here at the end to ask us any questions that you may have about building your brand. We were very excited to share this information with you today, and again, just hope that you have found it useful. So any more questions? Another question has come in. If you are watching a recording, will you give the answers to the chat questions? If you are watching a recording and have questions, you can definitely share any feedback or questions about the material through our website, I believe. Unfortunately, if you're watching the recording, oh, you're asking from the previous live session. I believe if they were asked during the live session, those are included. It's been a minute since I've watched one of our recordings, mostly because I don't like listening to myself, to be honest. But any questions that happen live, I believe are included in the program. But if you have any questions about a class, you're welcome to come into any library to find a way to connect with the teacher or book a librarian session. That's another resource available to you with your Plano library card, is to book a session to ask more in-depth questions about a class as they relate to any kind of project that you have. It does depend. I do not know that the transcript for the chat is sent out. So booking a session, so booking a librarian service. So when you book a librarian, you are being connected with a staff member who has the knowledge best to support your query. So any question that you have for a book a librarian session, we will try to connect you with the best staff member to meet your need. So if you're looking for help with Adobe, we will try and find a staff member who is knowledgeable in that Adobe resource to really help you. If you're looking for assistance with reference solution, we'll connect you with a librarian who's got very strong skills in reference solution to assist you. That's a great question, and it's a great resource. And that form is also available through our library page. So definitely just check out our planolibrary.org page. We have so many resources available on that site. You're very welcome. Do we have any other questions or anything else I can explain? Me and Matthew are here for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
While we're waiting for another question or two to pop up, I do want to remind you all that at the end of this program, a survey should pop up in your web browser. We encourage you to please fill out that survey and let us know how we did, or if there's any other kind of topic that you're interested in attending from the Plano Public Library. We really value and welcome all feedback. It helps us improve and do better next time. And if there's something we're not offering that you want us to offer, let us know. We'll see what we can do. Oh, we had a question in the chat, which is not related to this topic, but why are so many of the technology offerings limited to young people only? I would highly encourage you that any technology courses that we are offering online or in person, I don't believe that they should be just for young people. We are, as a system, as a library, welcoming to all patrons of all ages. So unless the technology is specifically early learning, do feel free to attend any kind of program. Unless it specifically mentions an age range. Now, if you're also interested in attending a program that we have targeted for a younger age range, let us know what it is. Maybe we can accommodate that type of program for an older age group. We don't know until someone tells us. It's not a great explanation, but I hope that you feel more welcome to come in and at least ask. Or let us know what you would like to attend.
For a lot of the Zoom programs that we offer virtually, age range doesn't really come up as much. If it's like something that is technology, like something that you're interested in, I know that I'm doing a class on how to do Unity software as well as Unreal Engine at some point. Those ones, while they are meant for a teen audience, if the content that is involved in them is interested to you, you should just pop in to the class anyway and see how
most of our virtual content is geared towards teens and adults. So again, we hope that you feel welcome to hop into any of our Zoom offerings. As Matthew said, we want to reach everyone who wants to learn, and we appreciate the feedback. Any other questions before we call it a day? We greatly appreciate the questions, your all's engagement. Again, we really hope that you found something meaningful and helpful from today's program. You guys have been awesome.